Shadow the Hedgehog. Why does that name haunt me? It's the only thing I can remember.
And you can't remember anything, can you?
Perhaps Professor Gerald has to your memory.
What was I doing? Asleep on that base? And what about my memory?
2 more and then the truth about my past will be revealed. I'll finally know who I am.
What did the doctor say about my memory? And just who am I?
These memories, the doctor's actions and words, nothing makes sense. Was it real?
Shadow sure has a hard time remembering things, doesn't he? I mean, I can't really blame him. Dude went through some serious trauma. And this trauma is the crux of his entire character arc, leading him to specific actions throughout several games. But what if I told you this trauma may all be a lie? What if these memories were engineered and implanted into Shadow's head to control him for nefarious purposes? What if none of these events we see play out in Shadow's head even happened? What if Shadow and Maria never even met? Welcome to chaomix, and today we'll be talking about one of the craziest Sonic theories of all time. Are Shadow's memories false? This video is made possible by today's sponsor, 1v1.lol, the amazing hyper battle royale. Choose your champion, each with unique abilities, and select your weapon, all of which you can upgrade and even deck out with some awesome skins. And here's the best part, it doesn't matter if you're a newbie or a pro. The game adjusts to your skill level, making it the perfect playground for every player to build and destroy to their heart's content. And if you're someone who loves variety, the game keeps things fresh with many exciting modes, challenges, and events that change daily. What's cool about 1v1.lol is that you can jump into the action anytime, anywhere. Whether you're on a mobile device or prefer playing on PC or Steam, just download the game for free and start playing right away. And from now until June 2nd, you can unlock exclusive skins of some of the biggest YouTubers for free. This time we have Clicks, Slogo, and Laser. All you need to do is play the game, gather the necessary items, and you'll unlock these limited skins just like that. Because remember, these skins are available for a limited time only, so don't miss your chance to show off these awesome looks in-game. Make sure to download 1v1.lol and start playing to unlock these exclusive skins before they're gone. Check out the link in the description to get started. Huge thank you to 1v1.lol for sponsoring today's video, and with all that being said, let's continue with today's episode. Shadow was created on the space colony ARK by Professor Gerald Robotnik after a series of experiments to develop the formula for immortality. These experiments were known as Project Shadow. But you already knew this because you've definitely watched my video on the entire lore of Project Shadow, right? It's okay, just make sure to watch it after this video. Also, liking this video and especially subscribing never hurt anyone. In fact, it's the #1 way to support me and my channel for free. So if you'd like to do me a huge favor to support my channel, I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, Shadow would befriend Gerald's own granddaughter, Maria, who was suffering from a rare terminal illness. Actually, she was the primary reason for these experiments in the first place, as the results would have led Gerald to find a cure for his granddaughter's illness. That is, if it weren't for the government intervening to cover up the existence of these experiments in a horrible act of corruption. The ARK would unexpectedly be raided by the military unit known as GUN, who was tasked to destroy all evidence of the Project Shadow experiments, including the people involved. This tragically leads to the death of Maria, who ends up being shot after attempting to escape with Shadow. However, with her remaining strength, she's able to eject Shadow out of an escape pod and give him her final words: to give hope to humanity. These are the events that would set the stage for Sonic Adventure 2. 50 years later, Shadow is awoken out of a state of stasis in a gun facility by none other than Gerald's own grandson, Dr. Eggman. And from there, the Doctor and Shadow work together to terrorize the Earth. But why would Shadow do such a horrible thing? Well, Shadow is constantly haunted by his memories of the invasion of the ARK and his last moments with Maria. The trauma causes him to hate humans, and getting revenge becomes the main motivating force behind his evil actions throughout the game. But it's at the end of the game where we can finally see the beginnings to this crazy theory. During the last story, once all 7 Chaos Emeralds are placed into the Eclipse Cannon, the ARK begins its descent onto Earth, just as Gerald had programmed. You see, after the attack on the ARK, only Gerald and Shadow were spared, and the professor would be forced to continue his work on Prison Island. But he would go insane due to the overwhelming grief for his deceased granddaughter and create a doomsday program for the ARK, which had finally been activated 50 years later. During this time, Sonic and company began to read Gerald's diary, detailing certain events of Project Shadow Shadow and Gun's invasion. Gerald pretty much explains all the past events that I've already been explaining. But there's actually a very crucial detail that seems to get overlooked, that begins to twist everything we thought we knew on its head.
I found Maria's name among those who died when the ARK was shut down. She meant everything to me, and I couldn't bear the thought that she died because of my research. I lost everything. I had nothing more to live for. I went insane. All I could think about was to avenge her. Somehow, some way. I got scared as I no longer was able to control my thoughts. All I could think about was that I wanted it all based on my original projections. I was able to complete my project, Shadow. I designed its mind to be perfect, pure. I will leave everything to him. If you wish, release and awaken it.
Did you catch it? Listen, I don't blame you if you didn't. It totally went over my head too until recently. But what Gerald says, or more specifically, the order in which he says it, has truth-shattering implications. Gerald very specifically claims that he finishes Shadow after mentioning the death of his granddaughter. Maria dies, then Shadow is created. This goes against everything we've come to know. I mean, we've been shown flashbacks of the two interacting with each other. Shadow's entire backstory is built off of the loss of this character that he's grown so attached to. And no, I don't think these diary entries are out of order or anything, and let me explain why. Gerald explains how he finishes Shadow, designing his mind to be pure, and most importantly, how those who wish it can release and awaken him if they wish to fill the world with destruction. This is a very twisted and dark statement, so it obviously takes place during his descent into madness, which was after the attack on the ARK and the death of Maria. And if you're still having some doubt, I invite you to look at the Japanese script, where I believe the grammar has a bit more of a definitive answer. I have finally completed Shadow. This is gonna get very semantic, but bear with me for a second. This sentence definitely implies that completing Shadow was something that happened very recently at the time of the statement. The have in I have finally completed Shadow indicates that the action had just concluded, or at least concluded extremely recently. Conversely, if Gerald was recounting something that took place a longer while ago, like before Gun's invasion, I believe this sentence would have been something like, I had finally completed Shadow. And again, this is being said during his descent into madness. And I mean, if Shadow was truly finished on the ARK, then tell me why Gerald was still kept alive and asked to continue working on Project Shadow on Prison Island. What more would there have been to do at that point? The ultimate life form would have already been created, so what more did Gun want? All of this evidence truly does suggest that Shadow was finished after Gun's invasion of the ARK, which would technically mean that Shadow never physically would have been able to even meet Maria in the first place. Crazy, right? But how is this possible? Shadow has explicit memories of Maria and the attacks on the ARK, so he was obviously there during those events. Well, turning towards the Japanese script one more time, we can see the line that basically confirms this entire theory. Again, in Gerald's diary, we can see him say verbatim, I also completely control his memories. Yeah, I think you might know where I'm about to go with this. What I'm insinuating is Shadow's memories of Maria are completely engineered. They aren't his true memories because none of this actually happened, at least with Shadow present. Yes, it is still true that Maria lived aboard and died on the ARK to the hands of Gun, but this was before Shadow existed. He wasn't actually physically around to be there or see any of this happen. Any of Shadow's memories of these events were implanted into his head by Gerald Robotnik, in order to manipulate Shadow to feel the same grief and malice against humanity as he did. The precious time spent with Maria, her tragic death. These are Gerald's memories and emotions implanted into Shadow. Shadow having false memories is even alluded to in the actual story of Sonic Adventure 2. Rouge suggests that Shadow's memories may be false. But even if that is the case, it's all Shadow has to hold on to, and he must continue to fulfill his promise to Maria. But wait a minute, this is kind of a strange thing to say, isn't it? I mean, Shadow's been wreaking havoc on humanity this whole time, so how is this fulfilling Maria's wish to bring hope to humanity? It's almost as if Shadow has a different, warped version of Maria's wish at the beginning of the game, one more malicious and out of character than anything the real Maria would have said. And I believe these are manipulated and false memories placed into Shadow's head by Gerald in order to control Shadow into being used as a weapon. Shadow is driven by revenge throughout Sonic Adventure 2, and isn't it at least a little bit ironic that that's exactly what Gerald would have wanted? That these were the exact same feelings felt by Gerald? Also, I think it's rather convenient that Shadow doesn't recall Maria's final wish in full until the very end of the game. I think it's because it's here where Shadow finally realizes that his implanted memory of Maria's wish was manipulated. He only realizes what Maria would have truly wanted during his encounter with Amy because his heart senses a familiarity in Amy that jogs the memories of Maria implanted within him. Because while Gerald may have implanted false memories of Maria into Shadow in order to manipulate him, he also implanted his true, genuine memories of his granddaughter that he loved more than anything. They were necessary in order to make Shadow as bitter as Gerald was for having what was most precious to him taken away. And I think these genuine memories, in this scene at the end of the game, finally override the false ones that Shadow had been following up until that point. This is what causes Shadow to have his change of heart. This theory would very much explain why Shadow's memories are so iffy, even in future titles. Sonic Heroes has Shadow return after his supposed death at the end of Sonic Adventure 2. He remembers nothing of his past. He doesn't even know if he's the original Shadow or some kind of clone. His overarching plot point becomes to find out the truth to his past. So in the next title, Shadow the Hedgehog, Shadow forges his own path in order to find out the truth. Shadow's struggle with his identity and memories is a recurring theme throughout the game. He encounters various characters who either challenge or support his quest for truth, which forces Shadow to confront the possibility that his memories might be manipulated or entirely false. But it eventually gets revealed that the Black Arms, the alien race antagonist of the game, had a role in Shadow's creation. The commander of GUN, who as a child lived on the ARK, recounts witnessing the moment that Gerald and Black Doom made their pact that would lead to overcoming the largest hurdle in Project Shadow's advancement: immortality. This cutscene might initially seem to directly contradict the idea that Shadow was created after GUN's invasion and Maria's death. However, I don't think that it actually does. Nowhere does it say that Shadow's development was finished at this point. After all, even in this cutscene, told from the perspective of the young GUN commander, we still see Shadow within his test tube. Yeah, we see him awaken, but I don't think this 100% means that he was functional enough to be released. Obviously, the bulk of Shadow's development took place inside of the ARK, so I don't think simply seeing Shadow on the ARK completely invalidates this theory. I just don't think there's enough evidence to say with 100% certainty that he was truly finished before the GUN raid. Another thing that some might point out are these official pieces of art showcasing Shadow and Maria together. But to this, all I ask is that how do we know that these aren't just glimpses into Shadow's false memories? Just like how we saw flashbacks of Shadow and Maria having deep philosophical conversations on the ARK in Sonic Adventure 2, I believe these too could be glimpses into engineered memories. There is a lot of very strong evidence that suggests that Shadow's memories may be false, or at the very least, tampered with by Gerald Robotnik in order to weaponize the ultimate life form. But anyways, are Shadow's memories real or fake? Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, leave a fat like and subscribe for even more way past cool Sonic content such as this. Huge thank you to my amazing channel members, and with all that being said, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Peace.